The many civil wars on the brink of causing massive famine by water, depletion of the sediment test by human career access, only a rapid depletion of the working salt, depletion of water supplies, but any 320. Water products are running trichronological severe reality longer conflict versus greater intercertification drought famine, geothermal beyond the grass water culture will show the ability to deal with crisis of parties, weapons access to water flow, water causes for many parties, grass water security, death of portable water, and destruction to due to occurring outbreaks, all wells will stop working, stop permanent crisis regional water cosmic steps for Yemen and resources. The civil war is weaponized the water crisis, which will displace and kill millions, rapidly spread infectious diseases, exhaust regional conflicts, 1950% of the population don't access water, persistent nerve to displace from population water, come weapon war, children, robbers, all waiting on for water, unrest, research trucks carrying aid, dams and water treatment systems destroyed, healthy system is caused unsafe drinking water, population highways are communicable disease, many hospitals destroyed, damaged, infrastructure exacerbating problem. Limited access to water is exploited by terror organizations to bolster public support. How 16 constantly exacerbate the water crisis. Destroyed water understanding condition and proper source was expected to killing hundreds in need of water. Many turns out kind of supplies and populated group of water communities ignored by human groups. This is increase our populated Middle Eastern instability goes nuclear off over 16 miles. Base instability and center maintaining needs to like the increasing conflicts. As the nuclear stand up for finished strong white mechanisms conflict revolution factor wounds are revolution after nuclear weapons power. Terrorists getting dead nuclear weapons. They have needs motivating opportunity. Most recent predictive evidence takes into account technological advances, extinction, gun, and around Chevy. 19. The risk that terrorists get in nuclear major major nuclear facilities, destructive bomb range rules, motive of population draw academics, Islamic state combat atrocities means the routine procedure of plutonium and security system to reveal vulnerabilities substantial terms of having well-trained actors inside the conspiracy use of chemical control by muscle security system opportunity, stopping device, proving body country remain challenging people with national borders rapid, clandestine radicalization to continue present threat drones and cyber, extended point some nuclear weapons, both crossing facilities offering their opportunities for terrorist features, highly certain threat, nuclear weapons could extreme increase airstrikes with the key internal resolve the crisis, they destroy desalination water reserve initiatives care, 18 demand water resource settings, putting further pressure on nuclear resources. The war exacerbates all the all-setting access to water nuclear possible Yemen is not facing large rapid cover. Coalitions all to exploit the water temperature, limiting airstrike water security, worsening health crisis, import of water infrastructure has been hit. The risk of airstrikes make the development of long-lasting desalination points of peaceful until Yemen has access to water country will continue to be risk. Human interaction can solve health and water crisis in Yemen only enter arms with insufficient hurry. 19 after 2 years of fighting 20 million risk starvation that ending the war, all the world can't solve this fuel for people that can health facility contribution on fuel, food, water, and is risking violence, risking texture, disease, health facilities, and target, and 120 million non-food insecure in face, administration, any arms, as a responsibility, sometimes arms terms used in Yemen, crisis in Yemen is a direct consequence of your restriction on access to food, fuel, medical, pushing no military solution, 8 cannot replace these solutions are feasible, Wagner, 17 will use restriction whatever new regime spaces in underwater water crisis, while other policy units, one team regime, committed welfare, population, managers, water, imperative, investigate, and 90% water is not current, reducing this would enable large populations to develop high value crops on one side, eco-tourism, other activities, reduce, replacement, try to rural economic activities, make less pleasant, plan the executive branch should end the provision of military that came to Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, DOD is normal means for pride. 18 departments make major role part responsible for the military state performance to security systems. The plan grounds are Royal Saudi Air Force. Rado, 18 Saudis West Air Force initiating tax support the R7 ranking F-15 factors as Washington and Washington. Hard to follow the R stuff will be on. Revoking support results in peace ban 18 August peace offer how they advance for the previous Western nation turning authority to Saudi Arabia contest and treaty equal and during peace long as we account watch Washington news and republic policy. The admin should take the next step and also for the war. The U.S. arms are one of the funnel to radical militias around the kept chaos and make tracking possible. We start weapons being used against our troops. Obviously, and on Saudi motion to read weapons made their way against the round back robots exposing motion protection around Saudi Arabia. The U.S. want to buy the Lord's English traffic damage chaos fashion political hope accountability tracking terrorism again. U.S. are taking positions on skirt on vehicles opposition credits for the U.S. and George support from the Saudi culture and reviews been saying the John Gray text Abu Dhabi and the other military U.S. risk of continued weapon we always prohibit transferring permit to third parties authorization never tends to Iran assessing military articles the American troops because IDs critical knowledge armor vulnerabilities and fall into enemy hands. No fill-in cavalry 1860% of armed companies military roles that takes with missile training and support European government from quota pressure national from military version training across the world 200 years every training reduce military generation Russia could not reach to a pretty sanction for their aircraft and change the industry China does not produce aircraft missile defense systems Saudi wants cut the next hard no Saudi approves this project 15 Saudis are going to redirect their facility for research program or specialists and take 15 years more. Who is on history, not structuring technology, Iran would not improve the Gulf War, India would not improve from sensitive extraordinary North Korea and Pinnacle Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, strong sensitive nuclear weapons and nuclear weapons. Waiting for delivery to Saudi Arabia. Framework, phenomenal introspections, most similar historical more disagreement over internal construction morality, Washington raising under class religion, center for the fallibility, non-observational ethics, instrumentation means about happiness, we can each term that we evaluate just like an observe. 11 to honest, I can observe the judgment of happiness, that's the standard is maximizing acceptable well-being, one is active specificity, but aggregation of repulsive benefits. Harms others also be the session church reaction between intent force addition enforcement causes makes it harder to deliver which makes an intrinsic reaction may tend to happen. For example, if I throw my timer at Asher's laptop, I'm almost also responsible for that Asher or Asher's laptop that will wait falling on his hands and cardio which I can't foresee that and I'm responsible for a second only consequentialism experience with degrees of honest. If I break a promise for me for lunch about picking that person taking that person told me consequences explain 1 second with so much worse with the first cut the third point. Underview. First, 23 points after that can be infinite abuse and anything debate possible weakness, drop the video, short warning, abuse, unsubstantial timeless, and CC point, risk, control, reckon, brute force, 1 and C abuse, for times 23, G point is competing, interest, 1 year, short, about directionally, should after defend the they one time, E point after, always after, is more strategic, 1 is 1 for the 1 year, 1 year, 1 year problem, more receptive, but you know, much time, fairness, education, reduce, basing, and dangerous, teachers, portals, those that we use my phone, second half, or basic, point, student, for cardinal offense. The 1 year server, 6 concerns, 17 currents, underdeveloping teams, the overdeveloping, the underneath the RBA for in-depth offense, we can response to top guys, you need value, access makes T short term for the RBA, third specking is good, 8 points, all returns is bad, they will have country specific offense leads to bad, your RBA point to go to their term, you see the option shift, definitely third, you want to find generic scope for the thinking, you adapt to different situations, and think, cut the 4.4, no negative fiat, amen, point 9, cap point, makes question, yes, limits, range discussion, from the resolution, cause will exist to me, comments a word, negative, fair, come right, negative, everything proposed, the other side, negative, benefits, the resolution, kind of what's happening, which is being evaluated, 20 sacrifice, only not reason for the affirmative, 6, evaluate the to be under team terms, 8 points of indication by rotation team is referee, never destroys time, substance, as RBA, when it's game over, B point is time, C1, you came with yourself, this is time consumer, drop, C1 is response, only 9 team makes it game over, B step power, D point is not summer title on the whole for no, also reciprocal, because it gives them more ground, neither is one on T.
Okay. You did. Oh.
Yeah.
Why would Houthis want to end the war?
Why the Houthis want to end the war?
Yeah.
Obviously the Saudis, in their process to end the war, because they want to end the war as a result of the plan, they would agree to some concessions to the Houthis.
Why would they? Yeah, but why?
Why would they agree to concessions, or why would the Houthis stop fighting them?
Yeah, why would the Houthis stop fighting?
Obviously Saudi Arabia gives them what they want, like Yemen, or like a part of Yemen, or whatever, they'll be happy, because that's like
Wait,
what it is.
what's the result of the, what's the result of the,
Plan?
yeah.
3 things. 1, grounds RSAF. 2,
Oh, no, what's the result of, you said that they will, do all these, peace negotiation stuff, why, where did you just get part of Yemen?
Well, I feel like that's probably something that would happen during peace agreements. It seems likely that the
Well, why
Houthis-
would they agree? And why would Saudi give that to them?
So 1, Saudi's going to be forced to peace, so they are going to have to make some concessions or take massive L's, or the Houthis would agree because they get what they want and then they can stop dying.
Okay.
They're still rational actors; they don't enjoy dying.
Okay. Why does salt? So is the only internal link about water airstrikes?
The desal plants and treatment stuff. So airstrikes have taken out hospitals, water treatment plants, desalination plants. That stops them from building new ones because they think it's just going to go boom.
Is it just airstrikes?
Huh?
Is it just airstrikes?
That is how the plants go boom. Yes.
Okay, and the why doesn't humanitarian action solve?
Yes. So the evidence in the arguments in the early 19F talk about how arms sales, war, etc. is the main issue. So, for example, when we send fuel through, it doesn't work because there's no health facilities. They lack fuel, food, water. The reason that occurs is because the facilities are targeted and destroyed. Humanitarian aid, even if you build a hospital, it'll just get destroyed again.
Wait, why would they get how does the after the plan does Yemen magically get water?
It's not like Yemen magically gets water, but they can start building water treatment plants, desal plants, and then they can fix stuff.
By the brink of causing mass famine, where exactly is this brink?
So there are 22 million people on the brink of starvation right now. Continued prolonged humanitarian crisis means they will start dying.
Yeah, but the war in Yemen has been going on for a while. When exactly?
So
just not enough water.
It started more recently, or the humanitarian crisis escalated more recently as a result of their bombing campaign and increased aid from the U.S.
Yeah, but so how much? Yeah, but how much water do they have to lose before
Well, it's not they have to lose 10 liters or something. It's obviously there's a point at which if the war keeps continuing, it will go over the edge and
that's
22 million people.
I guess I'll just say another dot. Order is 5 off case. I probably won't get to all 5. I'm not too. And on case, it'll be the underview stuff, and then the offense. I'm gonna steal this.
Go for it. I left it the shortest.
Thank you.
I always do those.
Usually, yeah.
Okay, got it.
Usually people have to usually people just set up their own because mine is so low compared to what they want. me just take a couple seconds, bro. That's it. 440.
You said 440.
442.
Okay, I'm good.
Okay. Good, Srivatsav.
Interpretation military is bilateral military loans and granted arms sales aren't used. 11. We define military as bilateral military system loans and granted registered commercial arms sales must be financially concessory. Browse goes to 4. Following the usual definition of only free transfer to concessional and financial terms are considered violation. Saudi Arabia funds themselves. It's not aid. Ryan 18. The sales are significant because Saudi Arabia uses its own money rather than the U.S. or aid to finance arms purchases. Plan text and vacuum is bad for so it's good to see to get back to what we were debating all about. When you're obviously against arms sales, it's not voting on resumption. Negative predictable limits. Limited arms sales, including arms sales changes the topic from military to aids in the military, which justifies ending any trade agreement that potentially benefit the military. Allows to absolutely get lands by the trade agreement of China, but does it reduces the capacity, which is unpredictable and such topic limits key to cursive war prevalent engagement, fairness, and debated debates against head of activity. You can't decide around for unfair use. Convening interpreters, key to norms, setting judges endorse the best interpretation instead of allowing you to basic rights at the bottom view. Drop the debater, drop the argument T is stubborn since the 1C strategy was premised on the 1CCX. No RBIs. A. It's illogical. You should know win for being topical. B. It encourages debaters to be abusive. Bait theory and win off of the RBI. Next up. Countercontext, the United States ought to end the provision of military aid except for international military education and training programs in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. The United States ought to develop a system for tracking IMED alumni, including the IMED Alumni Association, requires screening of IMED enrollees, instructors, providers, and democracy to increase IMED assistance and rewrite the condition for aid suspension or responsible coups by specifying the definition of a coup and establish a non-challenge policy for militaries that expose elected governments. IMED is military aid, ICIG 7. Military aid programs include IMED education foreign military personnel and democracy and human rights, military techniques and training on non-U.S. weapon system. Our reform plans significantly improve the program. Drills on 16. The DoD should develop a comprehensive system for tracking IMED and IMED alumni associated with monitor events and with non-aligned to interact with U.S. naval planes and military attaches and defense attaches. After U.S. embassies to debate more active role in requalifying IMED employees, the DoD should assign such a overseas agreement with their future back-end system on IMED for funding abusive officers to emphasize for respect for human rights and civilian chain of command. 5% of Biden's funds should be your work with foreign instructors. Congress to rewrite legislation to make it impossible to provide IMED funds to military that disopposes its elected government. Spending IMED sends signals that Washington does not tolerate coups that's cultivating public support for U.S. policies critical to sustaining bilateral relations when elected governments are resort after the type of the U.S. and regimes IMED. Lower civilian deaths and atrocities best 30 KU 17. U.S. programs that provide international and military and civilian personnel that are tied to viewers the conflict related to civilian casualty IMED is a deliberate effort that exposes the personnel to the underground values and findings indicate that the U.S. program provide educational training by exchange of ideas that are importantly shaping the nature of practice in foreign countries to bring the positive nature of the exchange to have a more lasting effect as foreign military officers and students return home with these ideas into practice. Foreign military officers know more about the protection of minority rights, due process, and the rule of law. There's a strong statistical impact to this home and like at all 17. IMED is found to have a negative and statistically significant impact on civilian deaths. Expected to dump or civilian deaths decreased by ratio of 0.99 to 1 for every student participating in IMED. Theory catch 1 year theory is towards the FA that 2 must go over theory and substance overcomes the which means to get the persuasive since they get the collapse and the persuasive advantage of the agreement and 2 ARB the response to my counter table B, which means that a 1 year theory necessitates intervention. Implications A 1 year theory can be a legitimate check and B and you rejected a B dropping the argument minimizes the chance that after the round is decided unfairly. C if intervention is will happen in the theory to be the judge and intervene in a way to decrease the assigned nature of LD theory. Next up. Counterpolitics, the executive branch of the United States ought to end military aid to the United Arab Emirates and communicate by military aid to Saudi, maintain military aid to Saudi Arabia unless Saudi Arabia develops uranium and enrichment and reprocessing technology and communicate this policy to Saudi Arabia. Operated on 17. The United States to make it clear to Saudi that its pursuit of uranium and enrichment and reprocessing would threaten the U.S. defense commitment. The counterplan solves and they say yes, maintains critical flexibility to maintain security assurances. 16. Saudi Arabia was not originally moving to regularly annexing Washington by finding itself the less leverage of the Saudi Arabia is not developed nuclear capacities and affecting your sunset clause of the Iran deal was gave to the United States is an organization that ties the kingdom and surrounding ENR that is restricted to realistic packages and realistic round sales with the evident proliferation is sensitive Saudi Arabia may be willing to accept that any ENR position simply to ensure the continuing of U.S. defense decisions. Negotiators will be much stronger positions to try to shape the nuclear programs. The United States desires to base the leverage and convince the newcomers to make a commitment to forego ENR technology. U.S. negotiators and defensibility and work statistical and empirical evidence. And 12. Case studies that work the statistical writing draft deals provide the U.S. over to nuclear countries such as Israel encourages obvious to delay production of Washington mining reassurance was terminating the U.S. arms electric pressure to South Korea to Shalini's nuclear project. Pakistan's quest for a nuclear weapon began after the U.S. arms embargo. Arms embargoes were reinforced by countries to receive nuclear weapons. Speed is key. The best time to use inducements before successful ENR. Volva 16. Substantial military system being ties to applications into agreement not to develop the floor fuel cycle that Boeing is only likely successful to offer the early stage before Allied builds capacity to give up inducements to offer a pragmatic path to limit the development in ENR. Saudi Arabia building laden ENR capacity now causes the Middle East arms race to build 16. Saudi Arabia repeatedly hinted that Iran acquired nuclear weapons for Europe before after the GCPOA, Saudi Arabia began to invest in latent capacity building of physical infrastructure and delayed human capital necessary technology under the guise of energy diversification, withdrawal, accelerate this counter-conflict last year. The Saudi Arabia took a complete step towards a hedge strategy by soliciting base to build the 16 nuclear reactors that express Saudi officials expressed their interest in the indigenous and the rest of the kingdom is preparing to mine domestic uranium. Saudi Arabia is allowed under the MPT that the Saudis that are positioning themselves ahead against rather the risk of setting up an arms race like the survival and competition of the ability of nuclear latency. Saudi Arabia is increased incentive to expand upon its nuclear capability towards the edge of the proliferation class. That so it legitimizes latency development everywhere in 17. The Iron Curriculum was Saudi program motivated those by regional rivals that are currently with what I need to committed and through and original processing over fuel regional proliferation, stagnating stability challenge, deliberate proliferation receives that cut the card there. That causes extinction and proliferation. Highest proxy conflicts again, which addresses out to 219. Saudis begin more steadily develop acquired nuclear weapons to counter that Iran Saudi Arabia acts as a financier for Pakistan program to give this actors that military information. Saudi Arabia also purchased hundreds of missiles. China developed nuclear weapons for January. Experts in report there was a high likelihood that Saudi were building in so factory. The Saudis engagement arm race in Iran could deeply push the partisans to stockpiles and nuclear weapons dangerously stabilize the card there case starting on case other countries willing for U.S. arms systems at 18. If every few countries move to punish Saudi Arabia holding itself to leave it Iran conflict Germany's and only allies to suspend the decision will not have an ever positive caution. We hard on exports to other countries to build a gap. Nation to not see Britain and France to shop to dispatch everything arms sales. The line on the app you should don't give their Middle East instability card literally has no warrant. It's just a couple sentences to allow any new warning or extrapolations. There's no they can't solve sufficiently in time. Terrorists will always have the capacity to do things, so it'll take a really long time in order to rebuild all of the facilities. To rebuild all of the facilities, which proves it will literally take forever. And terrorists can take forever. Also, I'll quickly on T always one of your theory because it proves that your abuse was like self-initiative. Yeah. Oh, I get neg fiat because it proves a logical opportunity cost to the app.
Okay. You good?
Yeah.
Fourth off, did you read it? No, right?
No.
Okay, yeah. So, I just forgot. I'm very tired. So you didn't read 4 or 5. Okay, that's fine. The latency counterpoint. What's the warrant for extinction? The end of this card. Where'd you cut the card at?
Which could be dangerously destabilizing.
Okay. So where's the extinction warrant there?
Dangerously destabilizing.
What does destabilizing have to do with extinction?
Sure. So it's talking like the country, like a card around there talks about how they're like engaged in like proxy conflicts and stuff, and they have.
Okay, so there's been lots of proxy conflicts: Syria, Iran, not Iran, Syria, Iraq, Libya.
It's talking about how they engaged in arms race.
Okay, why haven't they already engaged in arms race?
Couple of reasons. So, second, they're building capacity now, so that counterplan is key to stop it.
Okay, Trump is giving them nuclear type. Why is capacity not inevitable?
A couple reasons. One is that So one is that the counterplan makes it so that they will have the. Wait. Can you repeat the question?
Trump is giving them like uranium reactors that have like fissionable material of the same form that is used in warheads. Why does that not prove capacity inevitable?
Sure. So it's also talking about. So it talks about how a couple reasons. So one is that like that's giving them supplies for like their nuclear like energy. This is specific to how they can use that the ENR development in the instance of nuclear like weapons and stuff like that. Like nuclear capacity.
Sure.
It's not ENR technology.
Okay. Why did you say drop the debater? Because severance?
Drop the debater because drop the argument is severance since the 1C strategy was premised on the 1C context.
Okay. The counterplan. Why do they say yes?
Sure. So they're
Or
not
actually, status of both counterpoints.
conduct.
Okay, cool, yeah. Yeah, why did they say yes?
So a couple reasons. So one, Volk references how that it's not super urgent right now, and that military arms sales have historically been used in the past as a leveraging tactic in order to get them to stop proliferating, and so that they will be willing. It says that they will be willing to accept an ERA restriction.
Okay, why is the Saudi AF not predictable?
What?
Why is the Saudi AF not predictable?
So it says a model in which like helping military aid means like helping the military can be like super unpredictable, because like what if we give like a couple of what if we what if we say what if Ben Shapiro criticizing criticizing Palestine helps Israel military, right? So it would just be the claim that it would make
How does that
the topic
have to do with arms sales?
So it's
Okay, that's fine.
it's like the competing question.
Okay, start with
Oh, that's smart. You have your name.
Hmm?
You have your name on the bottom. That's smart.
yeah, so when I leave, they get let me know. Start part 319 left. Or actually, wait. Continue. Why can't we solve Turing time?
Oh, it just says that like the F takes like forever because they have to because if there are already so many places that are decimated, so you can't snap your fingers and a bunch of water bubbles come back.
So,
Sad.
okay, stop for 235. To do some theories. Okay, it'll be,
I see what you talk.
yes, I'm sending it right now, and I'm telling you the order as I send it. It'll be T arms sales, a page, like a new page, then the case I'm at the other counterpoint.
Right.
Doc is sent
Includes arms loads, loans, training, military infrastructure, civil and military tax, includes gifts and military civil weapons and equipment, training and permanent person, military administrative infrastructure. Aid includes arms, CIA, SME, military, includes commercial and military government services, sales and concession terms. Military includes FMS, LFP. 15 most military comes from foreign military sales. Cut the next chart. Prefer countries like Saudi and Ukraine. The biggest issue right now, Western military arms support. Controversy is things like cutting out military to Syria and Pakistan with arms records, literature, and controversy come first. Our top to be useless arms warranty. They set the breadth limits of their inter one no including arms does increase the restriction of military bonuses, but all defense apps and all aid programs like no loss grant make them explain like this has applied to military, not arms loads. Adding arms loads affects 450 billion instead of 11 kgs. You get wings to third is functional. Limits advantage your checks responsible to risk of disorder. Large case reasonability, but it may require sacrifice and subsidies of use and T has to outweigh the abuse of on team military is possible. ICAG single definition of military for the use of possible track federal programs across all shells and sectors. The new page 1 condos of a shape point atrocity condo with connecting catastrophes. Kills my ability whoever chase seriously imposing might have time to hedge and see what with your in 1 year and LD doesn't be when it's cautious common as a sound debates around quick. Terms of policy restrictions, the distance and measure making in-depth often provide responses and then costs to whatever has least responses. See when it's disposed also them test the for multiple use reserves 1 year strategic flexibility. Second picks out of type military already initiate when it picks mid 6 when the AC force 1 year restart kills Mr. Rebel sauce offense with positively green crashes through a distance short to the 1 year people score controversy military picks with the core topic question whether veterans deserve any aid. The pick avoids discussion shifts to fringe cases. See when it's picked reading is a distance so you get there and we can wait the conference cause military whole cells content inclusion key to education we need to make the help for a limited time period. Third uniqueness picture of rating issue the move the 1 year unpredictable no which about weight use as a part of the artificially influencing negative ground by building up tiny changes move after like unique compressor unpredictable because they're not irrelevant concept of the plan the case the war game is atrocity the plan solves the ground are stuff which is necessary to stop airstrikes on water points and stop people from turning into terrorist organizations and nuclear terrorist control the land when they see other countries filling this cargo ships to Russian Chinese weapons on the likely side or superior weapons real training and maintenance and trade where they're more good at peace talks because at the time they will shift the war their economy it would be tank our sport is a key in training other countries back in now to 118 other countries restrict arms outside of agriculture can go in Europe Trump has many with arms Denmark and Finland send new arms after Germany UK French efforts dramatically decrease this way overall decrease overall US setting dramatically increase up here from the United States North Dakota United States Middle Eastern instability doesn't have a war but we won the terrorism curse because they turned to Al Qaeda for water which was extinction ending the crisis does send a signal to their sub we should err on the side of our evidence over Asher's analytics they or 1 year theory does come once prior they conceded that it always because of time when the 1 year spends one short time on theory because 1 minute is 1/4 of 1 year versus once and one is probably more abuse I'm devoting that much time it's not self-inflicted even if it is it doesn't mean that you should be abusive just because I love you I make count point 1 from big count point not competitive 8 points that DO has control the CB heating 12 anything else doesn't equal to idle time just try to leave this why is it equipment or military design inflicting injury done along with what each central 10 pertains state run under type 50% presidential finding when the when the ends in school I meant to send just now so the FS and Dakar 17 middle state practice 2019 studying the kingdom I meant second term to the and all the kind of what is for increasing I meant to study resolve the case and FNV which general reasons to leading democracy all the impact sectors reform but it doesn't as many reasons study democracy key transition rate is already when any increase is 1% to 2% 3 point improvement returning money to with study business not democracy 4 case all the competitive encouragement for human rights reduction democratization 8 gives circulating money used for other things so less studies divert money to arms bombs Yemen 5 is impact turn so lofty militias are part of the Saudi military. Obviously, we shouldn't train the terrorists because they know our tactics and can fight back, which we shouldn't increase in terrorism. 6 point is turn U.S. democracy after destabilizing international organizations inside perpetual warfare. All democratic products, democratic progress occurred in spite of America. Smith, 12 American global international democracy establish America's preeminence market economy with common progress of global stabilization publications just deepen and misplace American self-confidence. International liberal order banana Germany between chip like liberals and that engage in war. The other counterpoint, one counterpoint fails in consistent measures, not political fault, only checking for condition, possibly to this code. That's when I see opposite second case always if they say yes, counterpoint doesn't solve the case extinction will reduce their impact here. The no arms sales are no arms sales because no arms race because Iran sanctions check plus it's already done by things like ending refueling and IMF plus capacities and outlook as Trump is giving the reactor no extinction impact they cut before the war just as destabilizing risk conditions failing case always 4 or third term debate told them we continue if they meet the condition don't give them the also turn of benefit 4 Trump versus the counterpoint plus 18 Trump a little interest reduce leverage Trump versus by law suspend 500 win wage guard center room improve Trump does use only 5 term to the plan counterpoint conditions intrinsic is key to protecting abuse of counterpoints and don't just competition didn't read 6, 7, 8 conditions.
Yeah.
I have like 20 seconds left.
Yeah, that's fine. I forgot I was counting up and not down.
Okay. I'll sum up the doc. Order is the IMEC pick, the theory nonsense, with cross-steps. Yeah, the theory nonsense, and then, yeah.
Okay, so I'm in theory. Okay,
It's the same doc, just at the top.
yeah.
I mean, like, you know what you're getting. Like,
Indeed.
I'm good.
Yes.
Couple of framing issues here. One, Tej messed up. He read the responses to our democracy net benefit, but I read civilian casualties. B is that you conceded your operative. One ear theory is drop the argument coming out of the coming out of the one ear, which means that I just have to win the count. I just win that I will win that I'm a counterplan and sufficiently be back on their theory into be very comfortable voting negative. I'm a proper. I'm an educated foreign military and democracy and human rights are building alliances or joint operation. It brings over officers of U.S. military schools or classes on armed conflict harm, human rights, disease prevention, and decision making. That significantly lower civilian casualties, reduces HR abuses, and strengthens the rule of law. That was the best statistic to flow negative. The one is the evidence that showed that there's a 0.99 to 1 correlation between international military training programs with reducing civilian casualties. All of they made very little solvency deficits. They were very specific to this, just democracy transition steps. So I'll answer those. Their first argument, how they only end the scroll. The plane removes all they were provided is, according to Mary Lepson, that a supply to make available. One company used to prove provided that the United States will not provide ice cream to its citizens. The United States conditioning provision that the ice cream on the citizens' credit scores will not prove that a statement. Two, generics. The resolution is generic statement without qualifiers. They result in conditioning to the types of military aid. Bird. Generic malpractice types are the most common form of generalization. The meaning of the use of non-count is generic. The most common use of the article is no article with generic meaning. Preferred judgment for ground alkene grounds based on complete pull-out of U.S. military aid. Things like Finland, stability, hedge, terror, and moral contention on military aid completely ending. If it still allows other forms of military aid to authoritarian regimes, and it spikes it linked to core net grounds, just say that the future aid will check. Their next argument was the next argument on the current defense the Department of Defense that is for one is it still is competitive because it is ending all forms of military. That was the one and see evidence. Second, just because two different compartments can control this military, that doesn't mean that they can both end things at the same. They can both end things at the same time. There's literally no explanation as to why just because the state has control of the receipt, that means that it's no longer competitive. It's clearly functionally competitive, i.e. it ends a specific part of military that the AF does it. The permanent all except for all other IMED Saudi Arabia doesn't solve the net benefit because it's specific to solving civilian casualties within Saudi Arabia and the UAE. It's also so the empirically denied stuff is also in the context of democracy. The case solves the net benefit doesn't answer it either because it's specifically because that's talking about democratization. The circumvention argument is proper. That's not how it works. The category provides a specific programs to use to give training. We pay ourselves and give the country aid like training, then country pays us back. There's no money going into the country. We have after Cruz, but Lipsy 15. Foreign countries are eligible for loans or purchases of goods and equipment that are military aid comes in the form of grants rather than trading for the direct transfers to them. Makes no sense because I meant to teach English, diplomacy, democratic values, routine to get weapons, knowledge about avoiding civilian casualties or preventing disease to strike airstrikes because they're literally not applicable. Also, in CXH articulated that the only internal link to stopping the war in Yemen was the airstrikes. They're directly being targeted. You cannot circumvent airstrikes. You cannot circumvent arms sales and to circumvent arms sales from. You cannot make it so that people get training from. I meant to suddenly strike hospitals, which proves that I meant solves 100% of the case that it should only be a sufficiency question, and that they conceded the net benefit. The net benefit. They're to also reform plain salt because a post-tracking association and initial screening exam prevent correct puppets, and their card from the 1AC was very specific to how terrorist groups can get armed, how terrorist groups can obtain the arms that they get. Nothing about IMET. The Smith card is non-responsive too because it talks. Smith card is non-responsive. It talks about like American liberalism, but it has nothing about like reducing civilian casualties. The theory debate. Conceded coming out of the 1AR that a 1AR theory necessitates judge intervention because it's brought up new with the 1AR, which means that all that are responsive to the 2AR will inherently be used and requires some level of judge intervention. So dropping the argument is the only way to minimize the chance that there is any abuse that we occur within the round, which went straight conceded. Do not let any 2AR extrapolations on the 2AR extrapolations on the argument, which it's on the argument. But win some more drop. I'll read some more drop the argument. But I'll read some more drop the argument stuff. If they have a valid implication, they have an incentive to restart the round in the money or whatever. They affirm it also means the strategic value to the NC because if I did a good, we use this as substance, they can always read the reading. Ignore it, but I'll answer the stuff briefly. Pick the condo. Condo is good. Yeah, one logical decision making, proving the plan bad doesn't necessarily prove the counter plan bad doesn't prove the counter doesn't prove the plan is good. Logic that always constrains all arguments. 2, it fosters argumentative innovation. Debaters are risk averse and conditionality is key to different options. Their skews are inevitability to procedural speed differentials, etc. The picks out of the type of military aid are good at a lesser good at 50 plus 13 regimes that cut in case specific to every specific avenue possible. Military aid picks provide a stable generic which is key to in-round class and engagement that are unpredictable. It's also key to the topic because they read about nuances of like arms sales, certain narcotics, and intel gatherings. It allows for you to test the nuances of case nuances of the topic, not about ways on specificity. Because even if picks are bad, this topic has a defined list of the type of military which limits the average super while longest checking and spec apps. Any needness picks are good. It's key to negative round. It's key to testing the app from multiple specific angles, especially if aid is not working in a specific sense. It's logical for the United States to reform it. It is predictable because you know there's a certain list of military aid of what military aid is because it's clearly just defined out in the ICIJ.
Cool. 2:35. That's me. Start writing. case page with an overview, then the theory page. Actually, here you go.
Wait, where?
Oh, on theory to be the picks part. Everybody good?
The warring Yemen is atrocity. The plan solves regarding the Royal Saudi Air Force. We stop an extinction impact is running the RSF stops air strikes on water treatment. One was necessary to stop people from turning into terrorists for water supplies. Now, here's the way that you should frame this debate. The theory arguments are all drop the argument. The only argument that the two are extended was the I'm pick. If I'm winning, the picks are bad, then that's the reason why you drop the I'm pick and just vote out on the case because it was conceded. The theory argument. They were super light on picks. The tuner had two arguments. First was ground, second was topic width. The only other argument that was on picks was always on specificity because the topic has an ICIG was new. Should not cross by arguments from other pages to the picks page unless the tuner explicitly did it, which they didn't because the texture predictability. There's no way for you to know what the judge will cross apply. Now, the extension of the 1 year standards extend ground. Here's where you vote affirmative. 3 arguments. First is picks off the entirety affirmative restart. The debate in the 1 year returns all of the app offense goes away. Second is with the pick the most desirable size of resolutional offense and military. They can pick out of the after time for location any part of the action. There's no way to cover all of them, which makes it never ending. For example, some small type of military might be good, but it might be outweighed by the issues with all the other types of military that we provide to them, which proves that picture unique about. Third is that they've conceded reading it as a disad solves all their offense. This strategy would have been fine as a disad, but what they went to be by reading it as an absolute tools massive amounts of the affirmative. There's no real disad. The impact is super minute improves of B straight because I want them to disads here and that benefit. They'll blind by one on their argument starting on this the ground / testing thingy. One non-unique reading as a disad solves their offense because they still get ground against the affirmative. There's no reason why they need a pick to have ground against the affirmative, especially when the disad still gives you ground. Second is that testing looks better when they test the entire half instead of forcing into the margins, which leads to shallow debates and mock core testing. Third is they're overcompensating. Even if the negatives to test, they have some, but they still have things like NCs, T, Ks, etc. There's no reason why they uniquely need picks, especially when they have disads and other kind of ones like the ones that they read for, and the ones that are on the doc that they didn't get to for is that they're already flexible. They have disads, Ks, NCs, etc. Their topic argument. One is our topic standard terms is if they force us to the margins because undermine topic specification. When topic comes out, we research the effects of which aid is good, or of whether aid should be provided to regime in general, for example, broader signaling things, etc. But reading as a disad also solves their topic literature offense because it proves that they still get access to that literature. They just don't move the entirety of the affirmative. Second is that they're using literature and predictability. The wiki and other arguments also impact predictability. There's no reason for me to predict some argument just because you found an obscure article. Third is that even if arguments in the literature, that's not a reason for them to be picked. You can make arguments disads to your affirmative doesn't move the UC. Fourth, this assumes everyone can access all the literature. Some databases are paywall like JSTOR, and some articles can't be accessed without permission. So especially once you get past a couple articles on places like Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, they start being really terrible and say that you can't access it. Supercharged by picks they require deep research on the fringes of the topic. Your specificity argument does not outweigh the negative. Can pick out of literally anything. The fact that there are multiple definitions of aid proven by the debate in this round on arms sales proves that people are shifting between what they find in the literature, the ICIJ, the security systems modern green book, all of these prove it does not always on specificity. There's no way for me to know, and they'll always have infinitely more prep on the AC, which destroys debate. Here's how you evaluate the debate. There's tons of arguments on ground and topic literature. They've conceded that 1 AR standards and reading as a disad solves their offense because they still get access to ground and testing the affirmative and the literature. They just don't have to move. You have to do it. Under that, drop the argument means you drop the pick. Goodbye pick. Vote off on case. They didn't extend anything else.